Hey, we're Andy and Eddie. These are some NES games you may have missed, starting with Roller Games. Roller Games was released by Konami in 1990 under the Ultra label, who also did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. And you can really hear it in the music and the sound effects. Speaking of the music, it is still one of my favorite soundtracks on the system. The crowd sounds are awesome. You can tell they were definitely lifted from another Konami title, Blades of Steel.
It's so realistic.
Now this game was known for being super cheap with deaths.
That never happened in a NES game. This was the first one.
You would be like rolling down the street and there'd be a pothole. And you fall down the pothole like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game. When you fall down a manhole, like in real life, you'd probably die, but it doesn't translate well to a video game.
No, but it's still funny.
It is funny. The show Roller Games was based on was actually really popular. It only lasted one season, but was way more popular than American Gladiators at the time.
Fun fact, American Gladiators, worst NES game ever.
Definitely.
Dragon Power. Dragon Power is a game you might have missed, and after going back and replaying it, it's good that you did. I remember liking this game as a kid. The reason I kept this game on the list is just because of the fun fact that this was the first Dragon Ball Z game that was ported over from Japan. I never knew as a kid, in 1987, I never knew that there was a Dragon Ball Z. It was just atrocious. I shouldn't have replayed it. The box art gave you no indication that this was a Dragon Ball Z game. You had, I believe it was a Caucasian male and a Karate like, Wah! In the game, they even edited Goku's hair to where now he just had a round hairdo.
Yeah, like it's kind of...
Nothing spiky whatsoever.
It looked like a comb over?
Yeah, I think he had a comb over. If you didn't finish it in enough time, your girlfriend that you were trying to save would eventually come out and shoot you with a machine gun.
Really?
Yes. You're going through the level, and if you don't hurry fast enough...
Are you supposed to be saving her?
Yes.
And she has a machine gun?
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yes. Town and country surf design. Wooden water rage. I hate this game.
Oh man, I love this game. Good memories with this one.
I like the skating part of the game. The surfing one is just brutal. It's the worst controls ever.
I have to agree. The skateboarding part I can get through to the point where it's just basically repeating over and over and over again. It doesn't end. The surfing one, I die within 2 minutes every single time. I can never quite get those controls down. I'm sure some of you out there probably did a really good job with this one. I could never get it. Now this game was put out by LJN, who is notorious for just really, really bad games. I remember whenever I would go to someone's house and they had a new video game, and I saw that little rainbow from
You would flog them.
Oh my! I would just no.
So you were like, I can't be friends with you because you have an LJN game.
No, I never said that. I wasn't that. Well, no, I wasn't that. There was a lot of different characters in TNC Surf Design. There was the surfer-looking kid, and there was the Tiki God.
And Donkey Kong?
And Donkey Kong, yeah. He looked exactly like... Even the drawings looked like Donkey Kong, but just with some shades on.
Was there Chester Cheetah too?
I think the Noid made the appearance once or twice.
Noid and Chester Cheetah, TNC Surf Design.
LJN.
That's right. This game sucked.
Castilian. Now this is a strange game. This was actually released in 1987 on various systems and finally made its way to the Nintendo quite a few years later. You can definitely see the Commodore 64 colors in the title screen. I mean, anyone familiar with C64 will definitely notice it as soon as you see it. It's a pretty different game. It's a puzzle game, but it's ridiculously unfair.
Well, I think it's one of the best looking
Oh,
NES
definitely,
games.
yeah. Battletoads, which was released in 1991, which is, it's years after 87, level 12 was that entire rotating tower thing. And they definitely took inspiration from this game because...
This game is all level 12 of
It's pretty much, in all its hardness and ridiculousness and cheapness. I mean, it's definitely a game for patient people. It's not something you just jump into. Most people, they'll get to the first screen and die over and over again and say, this is ridiculous, I can't play this.
If you're a controller thrower, do not play this game.
No, you'll throw through your monitor, most definitely. But me, I mean, you just sit down, relaxed, take your time with it, you memorize the screens, you see where to go, and even on top of how hard it is, you're also timed, and you have a really small margin of error when you're playing this game.
So if you have infinite patience, I think this would be a good game for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Super Dodgeball, released in 1989. I spent many hours playing this game.
Same here. Depending on which region you played the game in, whether it be Japan or in America, Team USA and Team Japan, their attributes were stronger.
Not only was this game extremely fun, it was very funny. From the artwork on the cover of the box, every time I look at that, I can't look at that without laughing. It's just hilarious. You got this guy's like on the side with the ball.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
And yeah, some of the characters in the game had this Cro-Magnon look with his eyebrow all furred down.
And of course the mating call, or whatever that was, posed in between the screens.
Yeah. How does that go? The beanball mode was very fun too.
Yeah, it was. It was really glitchy, especially when you're playing two-player, but you never knew what was going to happen.
It was great. When you're playing this game with two players, one of the greatest things is hitting your buddy in the back of the head when he's not facing you because there's nothing he can do about it. Most gamers have heard or played Sid Meier's Pirates, but there's a little-known NES game that came a few years after Sid Meier's Pirates called Uncharted Waters, which I prefer more. Produced by Koei in 1991, it was larger in scope than Sid Meier's Pirates. I spent many hours on this game as a kid. It was one of those games to where you had to write down a lot of information just so you would remember it later.
That's probably why I never played it.
Yes, I had a very large notepad with different ports and different waitresses at taverns.
Got their digits?
Yes, I got their digits. What was cool is that if you knew roughly geography of the world, you would. It wasn't to scale, but you wouldn't do too bad knowing your way around this game.
So, would you recommend this?
Sure, if nobody will touch your penis.
Next up we have Orb 3D. This is a game made by High Tech Expressions in 1990. They were mostly known for their children games like The Muppets and Barbie, Tom and Jerry, Sesame Street, things of that nature. Coincidentally, they were also making a game based off of Twin Peaks.
That just sounds horrible.
That sounds great. It was supposed to have multiple endings depending on which character you had, but it was canceled in 1991. Orb 3D was basically Lonely Pong with a twist, and by Lonely Pong I mean you had two paddles on either side of the screen, but you were controlling both of them at the same time.
It was very sad.
It was a lonely, sad game. It is difficult to control, but once you get to it, I mean, there's some really cool things happening in this game. There's a tic-tac-toe board, and there's bowling, and there's a Cheshire cat that is appearing here and there all over the place. Unfortunately, it's very, very weird at times. Like, you're against the clock, first of all. You have a fuel line that's constantly going down, and just randomly, there'll be an enemy that appears. And so while you're... Yeah, it doesn't. And then you go to fuel up at Vern's Gasorama, and then out of nowhere there's this big purple demon that comes up. All he does is waste your time.
Unlike a boss that's just there to waste your time.
I would definitely play this game again. I have. Eddie, probably not. Next up we have Mighty Final Fight, which was released 2 years after the Super Nintendo port. So Capcom decided to do something totally different with this game. Instead of making a dumbed down version of the game for the Nintendo, because they knew the limitations by this point of the system, they decided to do a cutesy, super deformed version. Because they'd done it later with Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. What was the style called?
Chibi! The game was re-released on the Capcom Classics Mini-Mix for the Game Boy Advance.
This game also featured experience points which allowed you to unlock new moves, much like Double Dragon did with the point system.
First time I played this, it took me a while to realize that I actually had to hit the barrels instead of jump over them, because that's the only place in the game where you're going to find power-ups.
Mighty Final Fight is definitely a great game if you can find it. I think actually it's better than TMNT and Double Dragon for the system. It's probably the best beat 'em up for the system.
It's definitely the best beat 'em up we've talked about tonight.
That's true.
Go-Go 13.
Now this is an awesome game.
Yes. What I remember about Go-Go 13 was that the music was very stressful. It filled me with anxiety. I didn't know what was going to happen next. And when your health was low, you had this alarm clock sound that would just drive you nuts and make you start sweating and get you nervous and ready to die.
Do you hear that? Ah! One of my favorite anime movies ever is The Professional, Go-Go 13, which is really adult.
Also, I remember the actors having porn names like Cherry Grace and Dirt Bullet.
Nice.
One of the coolest things that I remember from Go-Go 13 was the many different genres of games that were actually a part of Go-Go 13, such as side-scrolling action. There was a side helicopter shooting stage. There was a sniper shooting stage.
One of my favorite scenes is the awesome cutscene where, you know, you have the honey in the hotel room and she's coming up and the lights are turning low and everything's getting sexy.
Oh yeah.
And then your health goes up. Drove a little boy's imagination wild thinking about what was going on in that hotel room in your Nintendo system.
I always looked away.
No, I did. This is my favorite game on the list, Tengen's Tetris, the black cartridge. This is a game that was developed by Atari for the arcade, and then ported under their Tengen license for the NES system later on. They got into a legal battle with Nintendo, and they had to pull the game off the shelves after 4 weeks. Atari was able to continue doing the arcade port, and Nintendo would have the console rights. Unfortunately, it already sold about 100,000 copies of the game.
Yeah.
But they had printed like 500,000, so there were 400,000 roughly that were destroyed. Now, Tengen Tetris is definitely, I think, the superior game. Especially because of the two-player mode. Not only do you have two players at the same time like you did in the arcade version, but you also had cooperative play, which could really get some cool stuff going on.
I really enjoyed the cooperative play for this game because you can really screw over your buddy when playing this. If you're with your buddy and you're having a good time, that's one thing, but if you're with somebody who takes Tetris serious, which some people do, definitely there's going to be some fist flying if you want to.
Thank you, Tengen, for the awesome game. Sorry it didn't work out for you.